finally taking on the NRA. This isn't just rhetoric anymore and campaign ads. We're moving this country forward.
Yeah, Amy Klobuchar, go on, Democrats. It's your birthday. It's your birthday. You know why I think we're having such a good week? Because it's Barack Obama's birthday. Oh, hi, Carl. Hi.
Good morning. Now, am I to believe that my lawyers accidentally sent you an entire copy of my cell phone for the last 2 years?
Yeah, I didn't think anyone could watch that many kitten videos, but that is surprising from you that you like
I'm
see
sorry.
that much. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah, please don't turn it over to the January 6th committee.
They'll just subpoena
It's
it
too
anyway.
boring.
Yeah.
Carl, this is indeed a good week, is it not? For truth, justice, the American way.
I mean, you've got Schadenfreude TV happening with the Alex Jones trial.
He's Schadenfreude.
And I said Schadenfreude because I knew that Alex Jones would understand what I mean in the original German.
That's how cooked his goose is. It's Schadenfreude.
What?
Yeah.
Oh. No.
You've got the committee and everything else, and the legislation happening in Congress. So it's a lot to take in and be happy about. It's a little weird.
I mean, Allison Gill on Mueller, she wrote, said every state should put abortion on the ballot in November to get people out to vote. I think we talked about rules yesterday, Chris. Not every state can, but every state that can should, right?
Yeah.
Because,
well, and not just to get people to turn out to vote, but because we need to protect it in our state constitutions and through state legislatures across the country now.
Yeah.
So if they can't get it on this ballot, they need to be working for the next one.
Chris Murphy raised an interesting point, of course. He said on Twitter, mark my words, the anti-choice movement is going to look at the Kansas result and decide their best path to criminalize abortion is a federal ban. It's coming, and that's what's on the ballot this November.
Oh, absolutely. They are not going to have the appetite, looking at the Kansas results, of doing that in place after place after place, knowing that most places in this country are more liberal than Kansas. Because what happens is they will lose over and over and over again, and that will demoralize their base. It will make it less likely for them to turn out and vote. But they can marshal resources to get a couple hundred Republicans in Congress to do the wrong thing and be done with it.
Yeah. And Carl, we were saying the way they messaged, you're a former political strategist, the way they messaged in Kansas, it is, I've been saying this every day here, it should be about freedom, that it's about government overreach and our freedom to love and marry who we want, to control our own bodies, freedom to vote, on and on, right? It's like the ad Gavin Newsom put out here.
In Florida.
Well, when
against
somebody
DeSantis,
when somebody has a spontaneous abortion, miscarriage, the last thing anybody should be thinking about is what role the government has to get into that conversation.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is about freedom. It's about autonomy. It's about allowing people to do what's best for them and their families.
Talk to us as a political strategist about Kansas, though, because I don't think people realize how extraordinary this was. That voter registration was up 1,000% after Roe was overturned. 70% of that women. They thought they were being slick by putting it on a midterm election because there'd be low turnout. That's the only way Republicans ever plan on winning, is if they can stop enough people from voting. So they thought, it's a midterm. Democrats aren't really, there's no reason really for them to turn out. People turned out specifically to vote against this in Ruby Red, Kansas.
They did. And you remember there was a book called What's the Matter with Kansas?
Yeah.
Well, I think it takes on an entirely different new meaning now.
Yeah.
You looking at the results even closer, there's tremendous overlap between Republicans who voted in the primary for Republican candidates and people who voted against removing choice from the Constitution. Yeah. So they better be careful because they're playing with fire.
Claire, and also it's interesting, this whole, Alex Jones, it's just everything's like, to me, feels like a perfect storm because obviously J6 and DOJ immediately are going to get those records, right? And it's all connected with January 6th.
And his ex-wife.
Peter Navarro's been sued by the Justice Department, thank you, for allegedly using, where's this familiar, a private email account for official White House business, except, first of all, Claire McCaskill says, I never want to hear another word about her emails from a group of people who are ignoring important government officials wiping their phones. Right? Pentagon, Homeland Security, Secret Service. Did anyone check whether every other department wiped their phones, or was it only the departments involved in the coup in trying to overthrow the United States government?
I feel like when we say wiping their phones, it takes away from the gravity of what happened. They were destroying evidence.
Right.
Period.
Right. And no one ever thought Hillary did that on purpose, right? I mean, you know what I mean? It's just the fact that she deleted risotto, recipes or whatever. People, I think, forget in all of the heat and noise, Karl, to explain to people. Can you explain to people what that was? The whole butter emails that affected that whole election, right? It
was the culmination of 30 years of attacking Hillary Clinton as somebody that you can't trust.
Right.
Billions of dollars spent by billionaire Republicans to undermine her credibility and the support she had. And whenever they laid off of her, her popularity would soar through the roof.
Right.
You know, people forget that. And so that's what the emails were about.
Right.
It was about that and that alone. It was about it was about strengthening a narrative that they'd been establishing for 30 years.
Right. And the fact, and nobody, I think, in their right mind, thought she was deliberately releasing classified information. It was
Republicans knew she wasn't.
Yeah. It was like what did it end up being, 1 or 2 with a small c classification or something? I mean, that whole thing, that we got this madman and his insurgent white supremacist army because of that stupid story, right? And I don't feel like the mainstream media is covering this with the importance that it has. Do you?
Well, my hope is that we end up getting something here in terms of evidence. And, I'm not closing the door on that. We're certainly, who thought we'd have Alex Jones's text messages?
Right.
So I'm not closing the door on it. I think there will be something there. At the very least, they will now be able to bring people in to testify as to who told them to do what when.
Yeah.
If you follow the chain of events, you will be able to figure out who was responsible for every order to erase these phones.